It's done in 7 columns. There's the vertical, there's the narrow columns, and there's the wide columns. And you're always sewing something to a rectangle, whether it's the cornerstone or whether it's the main block, you're sewing it to the rectangle. And the important thing is that if you look at this, that those points meet. Okay? Not bad, huh? Traditionally, what we have been taught, or what I was taught, was, first of all, to use pins. And I am going to attach this to this, okay? Which means I would do it this way. And we were taught that wherever the threads intersect is where the point is. Some of us just believe that and do it blindly. I don't trust it because I just looked and this was not precisely at the point. It was close to the point. So I always go in from the front at the point. I wiggle the pin around. I don't want to break any threads, but I want to make a little hole and I want to be able to see where the pin came out so that I can put it right back in that hole. And now I know that that pin is at that point precisely. Now, if I'm attaching it to this diamond or this rectangle, I now take the pin and put it through that point. And so you must hold the pin perpendicular. And I want you to notice that the pin is perpendicular, but the edges are not lining up. So it means that one or both of the points is not precisely 1/4 of an inch from the edge. So I don't care about the 1/4 of an inch at all. We are going to use 1/4 of an inch to sew this, but I'm more concerned about where the points are. And I was then taught to take a pin and put it here before the intersection, and then after the intersection to leave this pin in, to start sewing, and then as you get closer, you pull the pin out. All right? But are you still hitting where that pin was or is? Right. There's still a chance of something shifting. So here's what I do. And I need my bag.
Can you say that again?
I use dental floss. And what I do is this. I use a needle. And I look for a needle where I know the eye is big enough for the floss to go through. And I use Glide dental floss. And I use it for a reason. It's nice and strong, as dental floss is. And you flatten it out and it goes right through the needle very easily. And so there's not a lot of pain. Gosh darn it. Cut. Okay, so what you didn't get to see when I dropped the needle, when I dropped the floss and said cut, was that what I do is I go in from the point. There's the point, and I want it to match up with that point. So I just sink my needle in and I pull the needle through, hold on to one end of the floss, and pull it through. Then I turn this over and I rethread the floss. And then put it through this point. So now I have one point right on top of the other point. Just like that. Floss is going right through the point. Now I am going to rethread the needle from this side. And again, the glide is so nice to use because it's so easy to get through the needle. So now what I'm going to do is take this, put it on top of this piece, and put the needle through the point of this piece and pull the floss through, hold on to one end, let the needle become unthreaded, and now what I have is those 2 points are one right on top of the other. No pins, no distortion. And you want it long enough that maybe you can wrap it around your fingers. Now, if you look again, the edges are not lined up. But I don't care. What I care is that the points are lined up. So what I start to do, what I do is I get the beginning corner and I put that under my presser foot and I start sewing 1/4 inch. Even though I know that one of those is not 1/4 inch, possibly both. And I get going, but now I start looking at where that dental floss is coming out of the fabric. And I'm also giving it a little bit of pressure, but not enough to cause any damage to the fabric. And as I get closer to the floss, what I'm going to do is look at where the floss is coming out, and I'm going to aim 2 threads to the right of where the floss is coming out, which means when I open up my seam, my point won't be blunted because of all the fabric that's there. So I just sew down. Now I'm only looking at where the floss is, and it's done. Okay, so I got over the floss, and now I'm gonna line up this edge. I'm gonna pull a little, I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to get it back to that 1/4 inch, and it's sewn.
Did you say 2 threads to the right?
To the right, into the seam allowance.
Okay.
Okay?
So did you sew over the floss?
I sewed over the floss. Sometimes it sews over it, sometimes it sews through it. I don't care.
Okay.
This one sewed through it, so it's going to shred.
Okay.
But it's only going to shred on one end, so I still have this end that will thread, that will go through the needle again when I need it. And when I open this up, even though the edges were not the same distance apart, there's the point.
Wow.
And you're going to do this, and you're always going to press towards the rectangle so that when you put these blocks together, these intersections will nest. But look at that. And it has nothing to do with skill. It just has to do with knowing that you've got your points lined up. People have asked me, why don't you just use thread? First of all, you can't get a good grip on thread. Second of all, if you're giving a little tug, the thread might break, or the thread might start cutting through the fabric. I've just found the dental floss to be the best way to do it. And that's why I had you all bring a basting needle, and why I brought a whole bunch of floss.
Ooh, blue and floss.
Yes, if you look at the intersections I've already sewn, they're spot on. And I don't know how to. You can stop recording.